for our team. And then Carrie's going to say a couple words and then we'll get started. So, oh, and I have to cover the housekeeping stuff. So let's do that first. Washrooms are outside. If you know, you have to grab the fancy little key with the ice cream cone on it. There's a first aid kit here, and the defibrillator machine is in the HR office. If there is an alarm, we go downstairs, which is at the end of the hallway this way, and the muster point is by the bridge at the river. Okay. There's snacks there as well. There's cookies, fresh coffee, and if you want water, it's in the fridge. So to date, the PBV project has, we started with an inventory gathering. So we were really fortunate because Daria had done a lot of work on the service level inventory, which looks at all of the programs and services that we offer as a community. And we were able to use that information to build the program inventory in PBV. Then we moved into the costing phase. What's really nice about PBV is now we know exactly how much it costs to do each program that we have, including staff time as well as operational costs. So we have a really nice, clear view of that piece now. Then we moved into scoring. So we just finished up the scoring phase. And what that is we worked with council to develop some results that they were looking for, the results matrix. So I did send it to you guys. It's this chart with blue and green. So what the scoring phase did was look at the subject matter experts of each department, looked at their programs, and scored them based on how essential that program is to reaching those results. So we've just completed that phase. We have about 150 programs that we went through. So thank you to everybody that was involved in that. I know it's not the quickest process, but we did finish. And then now we're in peer review. And peer review is where we have an outside view, and we're looking for you guys to help us look at programs that aren't your specialty. So don't be afraid that you're not going to know anything about what program you're looking at. That's the point, because we want to have this outside view to help verify and authenticate the scores that we have. The final outcome is that once we have these scores, we give it back to ResourceX, which is our contractor, and they're going to put it into a tool called a Resource Alignment Diagnostic Tool, and we'll be able to then use this tool to help us make decisions, because it just allows us to see our programs, the costs, and how aligned it was, and then we can ask. It allows us to ask the questions and get the answers, and then move forward and make decisions. So it's kind of an exciting project, but it's definitely going to help us as we move forward in business planning and decision. So I'd like to invite Carrie Phelps to come up and just give us greetings from the executive team. I know. Welcome. We won't clap.
No, that's good.
Don't clap.
The better thing is make sure that amount of your travel is No, the executive team, we really appreciative of the volunteer time that you guys put into this and take you with your desk time. And we actually know how busy it can get throughout the days when you're kind of faced with your own job and stuff like that. So this is something that kind of you're doing on the side of your desk, and it's really appreciative. Because this is a really good process, the priority-based budgeting, because it will kind of help us move forward and give us another budget tool for the municipality. So it's not going to be the only tool that we have for budget, but it's one of the tools that we can use for looking at efficiencies. We can look at how programs should operate. We can look at revenue generation. We can look at all those different things to help us put forward a budget that really works for the city of St. Albert and for the citizens of our community. What you guys are going to do today with the peer review is really important because it gives that sobering second look. It gives you that opportunity to question why the fire department put everything in category 4 when maybe they should have some stuff in 1 or 2. You know, the person sitting there going like, we should just get it all. And that gives you guys that opportunity to question why they do certain things. Or another department putting things lower than maybe what they should be, and why that's important and that's really valuable for an organization. You guys really do provide a really valuable service in this part of the process. And it's going to be exciting because this is all coming to the end, and we'll have that first year completed. And as we move forward with subsequent years of priority-based budgeting, this process just gets more streamlined and easier, and it becomes more second nature. So thank you all for the time that you put in. And hopefully you guys get something out of this afternoon. Thanks again.
Don't clap. So Liz Johnson is joining us from Texas today. So she's going to run us through webinar style. Do you want me to turn the lights off a little bit more, or can you turn them off? Okay, I'll turn them down a bit. But Liz, I'm just going to turn the show over to you.
That sounds great. I would just like to echo the thanks from everyone for the time that you are giving to this process and the time that you're giving to me today. We are going to be walking through the peer review process. This is actually probably my favorite part of the PBB implementation, because it is the opportunity for you all to, as an organization, see what the rest of the organization is doing and to put your feedback into the mix. So I am going to spend probably 25 to 30 minutes just on some slides, and then we will have the rest of the hour to answer questions. So basic agenda for today is I want to do a brief review of the scoring process. I know some of you have not participated in this implementation until now, and we're so excited to have you be a part of it. But I do want you to understand what the process was with scoring. Then we'll do a brief peer review introduction, and then I'm going to actually walk you through an exercise using a test case, and then we'll talk through what you all will be working with as far as the template and what your tasks will be to complete the peer review process. So the first step, how and why do we score? So the scoring process is to determine how programs align with the goals of the city. So the results and definitions that have been emailed to you and have been identified by the super user team, the leadership team, and council, those are going to be used during the department scoring phase and again during the peer review phase. So the reason that we do department scoring first is we want to know the perspective of those who are actually offering the service. We want to know how they think their programs and services align with the goals that have been outlined. The method for department scoring is going to be very, very similar to what you're going to go through during this peer review process. So I think it's going to be worth your time to go through this step-by-step process a little bit. So you're going to familiarize yourself with results and definitions, and then during scoring, each program is evaluated against those results and definitions by what we like to think of as the subject matter expert for that set of programs. Those scores were entered into an online tool called Online PBB, and they were saved and are now downloaded into the templates that you received. The scores are a 0 to 4 scale. They're going to be the same scores that we apply in peer review. The scale goes from a 0, meaning it has no influence on the successful achievement of that particular result, all the way up to a 4, which is essential to the successful achievement of that result. I will also provide these slides to you all so that you have this scoring rubric as simple as it may be to reference back to. So just a quick review of a potential scoring process. So from the community side of things, so we have 3 designations for scoring and peer review. We have community results, governance results, and basic program attributes. The community results are where those community programs or externally facing programs are evaluated. The governance are the internal facing, both results and programs, and then the basic program attributes are provided by ResourceX to help further describe programs. So in this example, we're going to use the community programs, the community results with this example of economic growth and resiliency. I just picked a random program from your program inventory, and it's outdoor recreation facilities. So when you are considering how a department subject matter expert might have gone through and scored the program of outdoor recreation facilities, what they are looking at is the supporting definitions and determining whether or not that program influences those definitions, and then to what degree. So the first question, these are going to just be kind of helpful tips as you go through the evaluation and validation process. But what degree of influence does the program have on the ability to achieve the result? Again, we have all the way, there's no influence on the ability to achieve the result, all the way to essential. So that we're going to stick with that 0 to 4 scoring. Another way to think about this is if that program went away, would the city still be able to achieve this specific result successfully? So if it went away, what level of influence would that have on the ability to achieve the result successfully? A reminder as you are considering programs, no program is going to score all 4s. No program is going to score all 0s. So as you are going through and validating scores, don't hesitate to make an honest recommendation if you are recommending a change. Each program is going to be scored against at least 5 results if you're on governance, 6 community, and 5 BPAs. So we're just looking for the honest assessment and validation of the score. One score will not shoot a program to the top of the list, and one low score will not plummet a program to the bottom of the list. And then finally, during the department scoring phase, we asked departments to enter comments to help explain and validate the scores that they entered. These comments are available to you in your template and will be very, very helpful as you go through the peer review. You will have the program name, the program description, and then the comments entered by the department subject matter expert. So those comments are going to be really, really helpful. We will also have the opportunity to enter comments during the peer review phase, and we will talk a little bit more about that as we get into peer review. So a basic introduction, well, first I should maybe pause and say, does anybody have any questions about the department scoring phase?
I think we're good.
Okay, we'll move into a brief introduction of peer review. So phase 2, this is where we are really trying to look at those scores that were entered during the department scoring phase and evaluate those scores for fairness and consistency. So the purpose of peer review is to review and validate scores from the perspective of a result team. So while we had subject matter experts for programs in department scoring, we're now asking you all to take on the role of a subject matter expert from the results side of things. You all are going to have the opportunity to view all of the scores for one result area for all programs where a score was applied with that result. So you are going to be able to take a look at all of the programs and determine whether or not you think a consistent approach was applied during that peer review or during that scoring process. So the method for peer review, you all have been assigned to teams. Each team has one result or one basic program attribute. We recommend 3 60 to 90 minute meetings to review the program scores, and we'll talk more in depth about agendas and plans for those meetings. Prior to meeting with your team, familiarize yourself with your results and the definitions. That way you go in with a working knowledge. Also go through the list of programs to make sure you understand what all the programs are. And if you have questions, maybe go ahead and ask some ahead of the meeting, or at least come in with some questions identified. During these meetings, you're going to work through a template, which has been provided to you, to determine whether or not you agree with the score or whether you would recommend a change. You will not mark the template with a question mark or that, with a note saying we would like to recommend a change. You will go ahead and enter the score that you as a team decide is appropriate for that particular program. You will save your template, return it back to your super users. They'll return it to me, and we will upload that into the tools where a final score can be calculated. Okay, so that was the basics of peer review. We'll get into a lot more detail, but I wanted to walk through an example because I think it helps just to wrap your head around what we're asking you to do. So I am going to use an example. It's a fairly dramatic example, but similar to what Carrie said, if somebody had gone in and marked all 4s for some things or all 0s for some things, this is just kind of an example for you all to walk through with me. So in this, yes? Oh, sorry, I thought I heard somebody say my name. In this example, the police department's program of general patrol was scored, you can see a 4 for the BPAs, basic program attributes, a 0 for all other community results, and a 4 for safe and secure community. So do you agree with general patrol scoring a 4 in one area and a 0 in another? I think it's pretty safe to say that most would agree that general patrol is essential to achieving a successful result of safe and secure community. But would we say that general patrol has no influence on their other community results: culture and recreation, economic growth, environment, infrastructure, and place to live and work? Again, just to highlight, this is the perspective. We've seen the subject matter expert for that particular program scored a 4 in safe and secure community and a 0 across the board everywhere else. Now we're going to ask to view it from a peer review perspective. So we're going to look at it from one specific result area. Just to help flesh out a little bit behind these particular results and their definitions, you can see that they had 6 community results that I read off to you on the slide before. I think you can see just from this particular view that there is some reference to safety in several of these result areas. We've got safe community and quality and affordable place to live. We have feeling of safety and safe structures and safe and secure community. There are other places where already just seeing this high level of definition that maybe 0s weren't warranted in all of those other areas. So if we look even one step further, as we consider this from the peer review side of things, then, sorry, this slide got a little out of order here for me. So I'm going to come back to this slide. So if we're on the quality and affordable place to live and work, you can see from their full definitions that a safe and secure definition might meet several other of the influencing of the overall result. So under affordable housing, we have provides a safe and attractive and consistently regulated community. Under multimodal transportation, we can see that we have improved accessibility and enhanced traffic flow. Under culture, arts, and recreation, safe, accessible, and attractive parks. And then, of course, the safe community, where we're fostering safety and acceptance for current and future residents. So already we are seeing that there are 4 definitions under the result area of quality and affordable place to live and work. So 4 areas of influence under this one result area where it scored a 0 from the perspective of the department. I think it would be fairly realistic to say that a peer review team might mark this as recommends a change, and then the conversation should start as to what should that recommended change be. So, does General Patrol help make the city a quality and affordable place to live and work? I would say yes, that it affects the safe community, affordable housing, multimodal transportation, and culture, arts, and recreation. And the peer review team for this particular organization did in fact choose to change the score from a 0 to a 4. So whether or not you all see that as essential to the success of quality and affordable place to live and work versus no influence on the success of the result of quality and affordable place to live and work. We're going to take a few more steps to just determine that's a big jump, and we want to make sure that we are fair and consistent as we work through this process. So you can see this is what all of the scores are going to look like in the online PBB tools once we upload the templates back. So you can see after peer review, not only did the quality and affordable place to live and work peer review score change from the department score, but almost every other result area did as well. So let's take a deeper dive into the quality and affordable place to live and work assessment. So did the department get it right, or did peer review get it right? So first question is, as a peer review team, is do you understand what the program is or does? And based on the program description for this general patrol program, routine patrol responding to non-emergency and emergency calls for service. I think that that is a fairly descriptive definition for that particular program and should be sufficient for moving forward. They addressed both non-emergency and emergency calls for service. So now when we take that program description and look through the same definitions that we've referenced previously, we ask that question again: do you agree with the score, or do you recommend a change? So the next thing that you can look at is what else scored a 0 in quality and affordable place to live and work. When you have your template in front of you and you think something doesn't feel right about a score, look at the programs around it that scored the same thing. In this particular organization, we have General Patrol scored a 0, along with, and it scored a 0 in this particular result area, quality and affordable place to live and work. Scored the same as sewer rate administration, print materials, records management, warehouse operations, account collections, and evidence management. To me, General Patrol's influence on a quality and affordable place to live and work doesn't fit in with print materials and records management. So let's look at it from the other perspective. The peer review team scored it a 4. What else scored a 4? So if we're looking for similar levels of influence on this particular program in this particular result area, I feel like General Patrol is probably on the same level of influence with 911 emergency dispatch and emergency management. So given this example, it feels to me like peer review did in fact get it right and did in fact change the score from a 0 to a 4 and is better serving the overall alignment of programs by making that change. Okay, so we're going to move into what is required of you all as peer review team members. So first of all, you are going to work as a team. We have set up cross-functional teams. There will be 5 teams for basic program attributes, 6 for community results, and 5 for governance results. Each one of those results having its own team. Within each team, we recommend that you identify a team facilitator. One that can be the person who communicates within their own team about schedules, any action items from the meetings. The team facilitator can also be the one who follows up with departments if any questions arise during a meeting. That way, there's just a dedicated person who's reaching out for more information versus a group of people doing potentially duplicating that effort. And the facilitator can also maintain and submit a final template. You all can all have access to a template, but it's helpful if we have one that we know has been the most up-to-date with all of the input from the team. And then the recommended 3 meetings, 60 to 90 minutes each. That will just depend on the team dynamic and how you all work through your list of programs. So that's going to be subject to some change, but we recommend 60 to 90 minutes. In these meetings, you're going to determine whether you agree with the score or whether you would recommend a change. If you do need more information from a department about a program, or the comments don't match up with the score that they entered, then you could follow up with the departments via phone or email if that's helpful. And then by the end, we need the team to come to a consensus on all of the peer review scores that are entered. So as you get ready for your first meeting, read through your results and your result and definitions, review the program inventories, and go ahead and make notes of where you agree as an individual, where you have questions, so that you can come to the meeting prepared and you can have, I think, more efficient discussions. What you are looking to do is to determine if the score makes sense based on the definitions within your result and that program's influence on achieving the result. Again, don't be afraid of recommending a change to a score. There are a lot of scores that go into that final score determination. So you just need to try to be as fair and consistent within your team as you can. A little bit more detail into each meeting. So first meeting, start with the highest scores. Go ahead and enter the areas where you agree, and you can filter those off of your template so you can more easily identify those that you might need some more follow-up attention on. If you do need to follow up with a department, go ahead and do that between your meetings so that you can come back with that information to help the team come to a consensus. And then through that third meeting, every single program is going to need a peer review score. And we do ask that you come to consensus as a team. Your super users are there to support you in this process. So if you all are having a difficult time coming to a consensus, you can ask for more information from the department, or you can ask for some assistance from your super users. Once you are finished with your peer review validations, you can save and return your template back to your super users, and they'll send it on to me, where it will be uploaded into the system and or reviewed by your leadership team. So when should you approach a department about a potential recommended change? Really, you only need to go back to the department if you truly don't understand what that program is or does. If the descriptions aren't helpful for you, if the comments that they put into the scoring comments aren't helpful, or if you think that something was just really off and it truly doesn't make sense, then you can go back to the department. All of the peer review scores are going to be reviewed by your super user team and leadership team. So if you are concerned or you've had a difficult time coming to consensus, leave a comment in the peer review comments so that leadership can more easily identify those areas where there was some concern. When you are with your team, you are deciding whether or not you agree with the department score or you're going to recommend a change. The things that we are not asking you to do during peer review is to look at any other result area. You don't need to worry about, well, if I lower a score in my result area, I bet it has a low score in this result area, but it's going to be fine in this result area. You don't need to think about how the programs are performing in any area other than yours. The second thing is these results and definitions have gone through quite a process. The super users identified results and definitions, leadership team confirmed those, and council has reviewed and confirmed that these are the results and definitions that are going to be used. So whether or not they are the ones that you would have gone with, they are the ones that the city of St. Albert is going with. And then we talked about don't look at the program's influence in any other area or the overall relevance of a program being reviewed. You don't need to determine whether or not that program should be a program. You just need to know or to determine whether or not that program's existence has a high level of influence on succeeding in this result area or a lower level of influence. And this, have fun. Again, I will say that peer review is one of my favorite parts about PBB because it is such a great tool to gain insight into what other areas of the organization are doing. Okay, so getting into the nuts and bolts of it, the template has been downloaded and sent out to you all. It's going to default from high score to low score. Determine those that you agree with first, make your recommended changes, and then save the template and send it back. We do need all numeric values, so no question marks or NAs. We need a score of 0 to 4. You'll see the score department is the column that's populated with the department scores. We are asking you to fill in the score peer column. So if you do agree, you'd enter a 4 next to a 4, a 3 next to a 3. If you disagree and are recommending a change, you'd enter the score that you as a team have decided on. So first question that you can ask as you begin to go into the evaluation is, do all of the programs with a score of 4 make sense? Are they all essential to the success of this result area? And do they all seem to contribute at that same level of influence? Second, if you don't understand what the program is by the program name, look over to the program descriptions to help understand what that program is or does. And then finally, you can use the department comments from the department subject matter expert to understand why they entered the score that they did, and it may help to provide you with some perspective from that point of view. There is also a column to the right of department comments for peer review comments. So if you as a team have information that you would like to share, you can enter it in the peer comments column. This is going to be really helpful to the leadership team as they go through and validate all of the peer review scores. Okay. That is the end of my peer review training slide set, but I am available for the next 30 minutes for questions if you have them.
Does anybody have any questions off the top of their heads? So I just had a little clarification. As you're meeting with your teams, if you go through and you're like, yep, this makes sense, makes sense, makes sense, makes sense, then you get to one where you're like, I'm not so sure about it. If you have questions for the department, we're asking that you come through Paul or I first. Because that way the directors aren't getting 16 teams all calling them asking questions. Paul or I can then go back to the directors and get the clarification that you need, and we'll do it right away so that you're not delayed as much as possible. But that's just kind of an internal process for St. Albert that we're asking that will hopefully work. Kim, did you have a question?
That was a question.
Oh,
Just to contact them directly.
Yeah, so contact us. What we're also hoping is that maybe there's some keeners in our groups here that want to get this done really quickly. We're hoping that maybe a team would like to highlight it. So if after tomorrow you talk to the others on your team, if you think you could get all 3, like, get all of your scoring done in about 2.5 weeks, I know is a lot, just cram 3 meetings in, but if you think you can, let me know, because then we can share any of the findings that your team has with the rest of the peer reviewers, just to make their process a little easier. But if that's not going to work to schedule things that quickly, we totally understand, and just please schedule your 3 meetings, whatever works for your team.
So, go ahead.
Nicole?
Is there like a deadline by which you want all peer reviews done by?
Yes, we want all peer review done by October 20th, I think, is the date that we've set. So if you could try to you know, you've got a good 6 to 8 weeks to get things done. October 18th, thank you.
Well, it was a couple of slides that were like really helpful that I don't think was included, or maybe was included in the resource material. But will we be able to get a copy?
Yes, Liz, you said you were going to give us the slides, right? So I can share them.
Absolutely. I will send the slides, and I did record this session, so I will send that recording as well.
Perfect. So yeah, we'll get that out to everybody.
Awesome, thanks.
Any other questions? You guys are ready? Feeling excited? Is that a little too strong of a word? Yes, Andrea?
Is there any additional info or pointers to keep in mind if you're peer reviewing BPAs instead of program result scoring? Like in terms of if we're looking at demand, well, if I'm not the program owner, I don't know how to challenge the fact that demand is increasing or decreasing, or how many, the percent of the population that's using the program.
Liz, do you have any tips on that?
Sure. So for the basic program attributes, particularly with population served, demand, cost recovery, those types of things, we did recommend that comments be entered during the scoring process to explain why there was a score entered. So I would say, you know, maybe prior to your first meeting, go through and see if those comments are helpful. If not, then I would recommend maybe taking a conversation with Dawn or Paul to say, how should we handle this?
Okay. Yeah, so I can see demand perhaps being a little bit tricky to verify, but we did ask all departments to add comments, and remember the intricacies of putting comments in your border. But you know, if there was an increase in demand, or if departments have surveys or data to justify that the demand is increasing, we've asked them to input that information. So hopefully it's mostly all there. I know it's not 100% all there. So, you know, talk it as a team, and if there's some that you're just not sure if it would be increasing or not, then we can have this discussion. Okay, I think we've got everybody covered here, Liz.
Great. Well, thank you again. And if you do have questions, I will refer you to Paul and Dawn, but they can always get in touch with me. So please don't hesitate. If there's a question that you have, make sure you ask it.
So thank you very much for coming today and giving us your hour. Just one comment that I will make, since we were talking about adding comments. Make sure in the template that, you know, if you're changing the score, if you're recommending a different score, definitely provide comments as to why. But even if you agree, just adding the comment, our team agrees, you know, then that just fills out that column. And but if you're changing it even 1 point, you know, from a 3 to a 2 or a 3 to a 4 or something like that, please give us justification as to why you think your team wanted to make that change. That would be very helpful.
Please take a look.
And please take a look. Oh, and Liz kept talking about super user group. That's us sitting in the back, just in case you weren't sure. So Paul, Daria, Anne, and Debbie, and there's a couple others from our team that are on that team. Anyway, thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Now we can clap. Now you can clap as much as you want. Thanks so much, Liz.